Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. We had the first Star Citizen CitizenCon 2953 panel, the future of StarEngine. They showed an amazing demo of the future of what's happening with the engine and all of this amazing stuff together, which I've got in another video. Please check that out. They showed animals and pyro and just some amazing effects just all plonked together. And then they had a presentation of how these new features and improvements to the engine, what they look like, how they work. They're going to be in your hands relatively soon as well. They said some of it's going to be in your hands like almost now. Some of it's going to be in your hands with 3.22 by the end of the year, most likely that patch. They didn't confirm it was the end of year patch, but that's almost certain. And they talked about a load of different stuff. Major lighting updates, new light shafts, fully 3D integrated, no post-affected sort of light shafts that come through clouds and look awesome, that you actually will notice overcast skies, God rays. Ground fog, it's fully integrated into the atmosphere now. This all combined together with cloud shaping improvements allows for very realistic looking skies and light scenes, but also ground texture and tiling has been improved as well to be less visible, and altogether it just looks absolutely awesome. That's very much coming in Alpha 3.22. They then talked about dynamic fire in the StarEngine, so dangerous hazards for gameplay, ships and missions. These will be caused by weapons and misfires along with a few other things. Fires will propagate. You will be able to limit the damage by extinguishing it via lots of different methods. The removal of heat, you can use fire extinguishers, or a removal of oxygen, open an airlock or whatever. If it runs out of fuel, that will also stop the fire. You will need to protect yourself from heat, smoke, lack of oxygen. The materials that are there, that's going to affect how the fire burns, moves, how it's all propagated. This is all simulated and calculated, and this is all simulated, all the fuel and everything, within single cubic meters. So it goes, what's happening with this fire? How is it propagating? What's its fuel here? And even if you put out a fire, if it gets oxygen again, or if it gets hot enough again, it will reignite if it's appropriate to do so. This is currently on ships and stations, but they will be moving on to planets and how fire works on them and vegetation and all of that sort of jazz. When all put together, you have dangerous scenes where fire is spreading and you have to fight it. So they've got fire extinguishers, they're fighting these fires, NPCs are running around on fire and spreading the fire and all that sort of stuff. Very, very cool. Water in the StarEngine was then talked about. They've got major improvements here. New shaders and physically based techniques. Accurate water, lighting and movement is all sort of now simulated. Foam. The new water is looking absolutely amazing with all these waves and cool things. It's very scalable and will deal with everything sort of big ship crash related to bullets hitting the surface. You can step in puddles. This causes ripples, and obviously these ripples can happen at scale. Multiple waves and ripples can all interact with each other. Very, very cool. Blood, sweat and tears was shown as well. So based on character condition and environment, your characters will sweat, that sort of stuff, and blood can drip from anywhere you're injured or cut, or from your nose. There's a new scope shader with much better looking scopes. Really incredible stuff. I'm actually looking down the scopes that isn't faked apparently. They've got HDR adjustments, which we know are sort of in-game already. They're adding temporal upscaling, TSR, FSR 3.0, DLSS 3.0 in the future. Various render updates have been in 3.20 and 3.21, but more are coming in 3.22, potentially at the end of the year. They talked about shallow maps a little bit, but also the future of planets and virtual terrain texturing, generating terrain on the GPU rather than a mesh, allowing for much more detailed terrain, but also eliminating popping. So you won't see terrain popping in anymore, which is absolutely awesome. They've improved the scattering system for like vegetation, plants, rocks, trees, and this is 100% on the GPU, much more powerful. Again, no popping, more complex scenes and biomes, more natural vegetation, and that there's an early prototype that they're working on as well with sort of R&D using machine learning called the Custom Diffusion Neural Network. This simulates planets' ages and biomes and how they form based on moisture and heat, and this gives realistic terrain and distribution, helps build planets quickly and efficiently based on the needs of the system. Gen 12 Renderer and Vulkan. That's all coming. It's near the end of a long journey. This is going to allow for significantly better CPU render submission, and obviously where CPU is bottlenecking, this should make it not bottleneck anymore. So that should improve a lot of hardware sort of optimization and problems with that. There are hitches in performance and stability that are being sorted before they can release this, though. Global illumination was talked about. Ray tracing support is coming. They showed a demo of new ray traced global illumination, which looks amazing compared to its predecessor. Much more realistic lighting. It is already reasonably optimized as well. Previously they had one sort of light probe per room. Now it's 25,000, they said. This is all generated in real time, and you get the light bouncing and reflections. They don't need to fake it. This should really help with cockpit brightness. They are working on a hybrid solution that doesn't require ray tracing hardware, it seems, as well. This will work with Star Citizen at scale when released. Starcloth. So, cloth system in-game. Lots of updates here. They don't want it pendulum-like. They want it fully simulated. It is very, very cool and very highly detailed. It allows for dynamic collisions, supports full range of motion, and is affected by wind and other forces. It's efficient with very, very quick updates, 120 FPS updates, and that will allow for a super immersive experience. They disable the sim at a distance as well, so it's not being used inefficiently. Dynamic entities interact with cloth, and they don't clip. This allows cloth and this sort of stuff to not clip, and the cloth drapes and bunches. Yeah, they also want to use tapered capsules for collision detection. Basically, this is just a much more sensible way for collisions for things and sort of having hitboxes and that sort of jazz, as far as I understand it. It even works for tight clothing and all this deformation. Star hair. An early prototype was shown of simulated realistic hair. This allows for much more complex styles and that sort of stuff. Hair has a lot of splines if you want to simulate it all, and it looks like they can. They had tried it with the cloth simulation, but that doesn't work for hair because hair's not cloth. They talked about Crosserat and ways of working this out, sort of these elastic rods that allow for bendy real hair, and they made it so it doesn't clip and it returns to shape properly. I didn't really understand the Crosserat stuff, but it's bendy hair that returns to shape. It looks real. They showed a visual of them simulating all hair strands, and you can put your hand through the hair, you can move the hair realistically. Absolutely awesome stuff. Maelstrom. The physical destruction system was demoed. This is blowing up structures and ships. This is physically based and systemic sort of damage system based on weapons and projectiles and impacts. That's what's going to affect how terrain and buildings and ships are destroyed. They didn't say specifically sort of ground terrain and stuff, but it is possible with the system. The materials of the entities will affect this. This all breaks off realistically, works with the resource management system and ship circuitry and building circuitry. It should all be the same for all viewers, as I understand it, as well. So whoever the client is, you should see the same or very similar things. Materials all have properties that are affected differently. They have the properties for density, thickness, toughness, etc. Structural integrity is all modeled as well. Things will break apart. Breakable clusters for this allow for sections to break off appropriately, and it means that a weapon or item or component may or may not break off based on where it is and what forces are applied to it and what sections of the ship is actually destroyed and damaged. It looks like hull will actually be important on ships. Ship crashes are much more interesting. Forces and impact are simulated on the hull of a ship and buildings. However, they want Maelstrom to be used with all types of props, cover and terrain, and they showed an example of bullets going through terrain and NPCs and two ships crashing into each other. Audio. There's a load of new audio improvements coming. They sort of showed off this multi-band compression, which gives weapons a much more powerful feel and kick. Lots more feedback for them. Both FPS and ships were sort of shown for weapons. They demoed a more realistic version of space combat audio. If you've previously been annoyed by the audio they've got in-game that's all sort of, this isn't realistic, it's much more realistic now if you have no atmosphere or you're in a vacuum. They feel like when you're getting shot at, if they don't hit you, it's not so dangerous. If you're starting getting hit by something, you can really feel those impacts. You're much more isolated when you're running around without atmosphere, when you're in a vacuum or whatever. Much more punchy when you actually get hit. Persistent entity streaming, the replication layer, and beyond was all talked about. So they sort of represented this by spawning in a demo area with 3 zones. So all zones have their own IDs, all entities have their own IDs, and the zones track where the entities are, and they can freely transition between areas. So destructible terrain does sound like it's going to be permanently affected because of persistent entity streaming, and some areas won't repair or reset at all, but we'll talk about that in the future. I suspect Cloud Imperium will sort of need to let us know more about exactly how that's going to work with safe zones and that sort of stuff. Maybe it just gets clean, maybe you can't destroy things in those areas. But with the replication layer service, it sort of grabs all entities from the entity graph and then make sure servers and clients are having the most up-to-date versions and positions of entities and items. They simulated a sort of server crash and went, look, so we can crash the server and we can sort of recover the server without the client disconnecting, because the client's actually connected to the replication layer, and we can spin up another server, bam, we're in, we don't 30k. They then showed server meshing working in a closed environment, so plugging multiple servers in. They had each of the 3 different zones controlled by a different server. Only the server you are in or an entity is in has authority over the thing that's in it. So if I'm in zone 1, the server has authority over me. If an entity's in zone 1, it has authority over me. If it's in zone 2, then the zone 2 server has authority over it, and they transition between them. So obviously you can also see what's on another server without being on it. You can see it effectively replicated without having authority on it. Entities seamlessly transition between zones and affect each other and the zone that they go into. They showed the ability to stream out zones that aren't needed for replication as well. Chris then turned up and talked about how monumental the work is that they've been doing here on the StarEngine, and thanked the staff and community. This stuff will be in your hands, he said, in the near future. Very much looking forward to that. Check out my channel for loads more CitizenCon videos, which we'll keep on pumping out, whether they be summaries or our cuts of the panels. Check them out. I hope you enjoy them, and tell me what you think in the comments below. What are you enjoying with CitizenCon? Have you been playing in 3.21? Are you excited the fact we're going to be able to potentially play in Pyro in the very near future? At least some people will be able to. Whatever your thoughts, tell me in the comments below. Do you like using your eye holes for extra immersion in Star Citizen and help aim and do some cool stuff? Well, you can with Tobii Eye Tracker 5, which is on sale at the moment. This gives you native high-precision head and eye tracking in Star Citizen. Very cool for general immersion, for combat both in ship or on foot. They are absolutely fantastic pieces of kit, and both Zin and I have one. Use the links below to grab one for 15% off or to find out more. What the hell are you? It's nordvpn.com/BoredGamer, enabling you to minimize your presence on the internet, almost like a cloaking device. It also allows you to hunt out the best TV and movies and shopping deals by changing your region. It prevents big internet from gathering and using your personal data. There's even a data breach scanner and meshnet for your own remote private network included. When Zin asked, what's the Predator movie got to do with NordVPN or CitizenCon or Star Citizen, I said, what's any of our NordVPN ads got to do with anything? Grab yourself NordVPN in the links below for a seamless, secure internet experience. Every month we have a Star Citizen ship giveaway. For October 2023, we are giving away a Constellation Phoenix. This luxury multi-crew ship can be used as a mission runner, an explorer, a base of operations, and more. It comes with a luxury P-72 Archimedes snub, as well as the Lynx rover, allowing you to have on and off planet excursions. Just comment on any of my videos made during the month to be in for a chance of winning that. This is the bit of the video where I appeal to you to try and join the channel memberships and give us money. We have a load of you that are Patreons or have become YouTube channel members with the join button under my videos, and that goes a huge way in helping the channel and enabling us to make daily Star Citizen news entertainment. But there are a load of other ways to help us: liking, commenting, sharing these videos. That helps the channel grow. Thank you for watching to the end. Please get involved in the comments section, and I hope you have a great October.